We have Molly here.
Woo! Hello, greetings from the Netherlands. Yeah, I worked on Paul Driessen's latest short, The Two Shoes, as a colorist. I actually had the production print behind me here from the short. That's a image from the short there, and everybody signed it. It was a very small team that worked on it here.
Wow, that's so cool from his newest short. How fantastic. Molly also did the character designs for the intro of this show. So we have the two marmosets, Momo and Mitzi, and then in the background are her kaiju characters.
For those not in the know, I run a game development studio together with Eric van Wees called Arcane Circuits, and we're working on the follow-up to our first commercial project, which was Crap and Broke Out of Pocket, and we're working on a pan-media project that is inspired by kaiju media, and that's where those characters are from.
Yeah, wonderful. You have some big plans, right, with these characters that we can't really talk about just
All
yet.
All sorts of wonderful things that I can't talk about right now.
Well, let's go ahead and look at the Paul Driesse interview, eh?
Yes.
Here we go. Here's Paul Driesse. Woo!
There was no school.
Oh.
No. Actually, when I started out in the 60s, there were no schools in Holland. They didn't have animation schools, so I went straight to a studio. And I learned the craft at a studio.
Was it a Cine Cartoons, was it?
It was a kind of a umbrella company called Cine Centrum, and this was Cine Cartoon Center.
Door de oprichting van Cinecentrum is de radiostad Hilversum nu ook een filmstad geworden. De Haarlemse filmmaatschappij...
I think the reason they took me on is because in 1965 in Holland they started commercial television. But the interesting part, of course, in those days we didn't have, for instance, agencies who would tell you what to do. They came to us and said, do you have a good idea? I have a product, but would you have a story or an idea? Or something? And I was a cartoonist. I always drew cartoons all my life. So I came up with a lot of ideas, of course.
An exciting time, though.
But it was an exciting time. Yeah, everything was new, and I learned to animate, looking at Jim. Jim was a very good animator. Right. He was very shy, like most animators. He came from the UPA kind of time. Right. Simple animation, but very well done.
Right. Ah, peace and quiet, it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah?
But anyway, they just worked all the time, getting that day and night. And they drank a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Because commercial animators, they drink.
Yeah. Animators in general seem to party hard.
Not the...
Really?
No, the short film animators, they don't drink.
Yeah,
if they do commercials, they drink because there's the stress and there's all this stuff.
Yeah, and the speed you have to work so.
And that's a bit how I met George Dunning, was the director of the Yellow Submarine.
The terrible flying glove. The arch villain, the blue meanie.
George Dunning came to Hilversum, right?
And George came to Hilversum because they were friends and because part of the Beatles series were done in Hilversum. And I remember there was $1 million, 9 months, and that was it.
Wow.
And the deadline was final, you know, they had to do it. And George Dunning, who was from the National Film Board, who was a real artist, he didn't want to do the cartoony thing. He said, no, we're going to do something beautiful. And the Americans were very wary of that. They didn't like that. But George looked at what I did and he liked it. He said, whenever you want, come to London and work for me. I was a little scared to go. I mean, I just started animation. I didn't know much about it. But he had invited me, so finally I just went to London. And I knocked on his door. He said, oh, Paul, we're just starting a feature, and why don't you stay? And it was the Yellow Submarine.
Each sequence in the film starts with a storyboard. This is the storyboard for the Sea of Monsters. And these are all then laid out and passed on to the animators who act out the whole thing in line drawing. And these line drawings are then shot, and that proves all kinds of things like the timing and whether the jokes work and whether the sequence is working as a whole. And this is a perfect kind of dress rehearsal or dry run, after which we can very easily then take approved shots one by one and trace them, the outline of the drawings, and fill in the color and paint the backgrounds and do that whole process which brings off a finished picture.
So I was there from the very beginning, actually, because they didn't have a story yet, they didn't have a designer yet. The Sgt. Pepper album had just come out, so they knew that was the base for the music. And otherwise there was nothing. And so I started doing storyboards, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
I did all kind of bits and pieces. That's how the film was put together. So I did a storyboard for Love, the glove thing. So
Yeah. Do you have any artwork?
actually, I have one. It has to do with Old Fred. And it's yellow and they're hiding. It's typical my style of thinking of my later films, you would say.
Right. There seems to have been a lot of freedom. Yeah.
It was a lot of freedom, except that there were the 9 months. You know.
Yeah. I heard that the George Dunning and the producer Al Brodex,
Yeah.
that they didn't get on well.
Oh,
that
no,
they really
not at
hated
all.
each other.
Yeah.
Was Al Brodex the real Blue Meanie? Thanks, Paul. I'll be uploading longer edits of Talking Animation to my YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out to hear more about Paul Driessen's wonderful career and interviews with other animators.